Afternoon, you're listening to the Whittemore Community Magazine Hour of Power right here on WPGS 1330 AM on your dial. The fire is on your mind, is it?
It should be.
Should be on our mind.
Mm-hmm. Fire safety. Fire safety.
Fire safety should be on our minds. I'm your co-host Ed McQueen. You just heard our host speak.
Y'all see how I'm looking at you, right? See how I'm looking at you.
We're on a serious topic today. Every day, all of our topics are very serious, and this one kind of hits home in view of the number of fire incidents that we've seen so far, and they have hit home in a number of cases of knowing these different people who've been victims of that. But first, would be remiss if we didn't send a shout out and condolences and prayers to all of our sick and shut in. Okay, if you know any, just let us know. Okay, but we start in regional. We start with Ana. We try to go alphabetically, but
it never works.
Yeah, it never works. Okay, and Ana, and then
Allentown.
You better get Allentown.
Yeah.
Oh, they'll call in if you like Allentown.
Exactly.
Burgess.
Bayboro.
Choppy.
Bucksport.
I'm stopping.
You can jump in anytime you want to.
Conway.
Hey, that's C. That's a C. What am I thinking of that?
Exactly.
Yeah, Conway. That's why you got here.
Carver's Bay.
Carver's Bay. All right. Loris.
Aner. Well, you said Aner. Did you say Aner? Start on Aner. Okay. Green Sea.
Green Sea. Oh, Little River.
Finkley.
Big River.
Yeah. Gresham.
Gresham.
Ooh, Gresham.
Long South Carolina.
Marion.
There you go.
Oh,
yeah.
You're getting close.
Plantersville.
All right. Jackson Village.
Merle's Inlet.
Annie Village. Georgetown.
The Han community.
Lower Whiteville.
Poplar.
Tabor City? We get Tabor City?
Tabor City, yes.
Tabor City,
Tabor
Whiteville. Exactly.
No, we don't want to leave out Myrtle Beach. They'll get angry over there, and stop. You know how they are.
Absolutely.
North Myrtle Beach.
South Myrtle Beach.
Cherry Grove.
Merle's
There you go.
Inlet.
There you go.
Merle's Inlet. Paul's Island.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah. Socastee.
Socastee. Wow. Yeah, that's right.
We'll get a call. We don't say Socastee.
Yeah, get a call.
Yeah.
Now
Can we say Toddsville?
Toddsville,
Bucksville.
Bucksville.
Yeah.
It's just a whole bunch of. Sometimes we miss a few.
And we have to hit the highways.
Yeah,
Highway 905.
Of course, we're on the website,
Yeah.
www.wcmagazine.net. You got to check this website out. Okay. Today's broadcast will be posted on the website. Probably not
in the next 48 hours.
Within the next 48 hours. And also on Facebook. It'll be posted on Facebook, and it'll also be posted on the network.
Yep.
The network. You got to do that. That's the network. But we're going worldwide, so
yes,
we'll do that.
Oh, we're global. That's
Yeah,
our
we're
word.
global. Okay, global. We're global. What's the capital of Conway?
Conway.
Capital of Conway is Sugar Hill.
There you go.
See, we call all these jurisdictions, we didn't call it Sugar Hill. That's the capital of Conway. You're listening to the Whittemore Community Magazine Hour of Power, right here on WPGS 1330 AM on your dial. And for those of you who are viewing us, we have as our special guest, and I want you all to pay good close attention because you're going to be spitting out some information that everybody can use. This involves safety, but it involves fire safety. We have with us today our Conway Fire Department Chief, Mr. Philip Hendricks.
That's right. I appreciate you having me.
Junior.
And I actually go by Lee.
People like to ask questions, when you're on the street, one of the most critical ones, what took them so long, or something like that.
Right.
And nobody knows the response kind of. But of course, that was one of our questions that we had on the promotion that we sent out.
Right.
Okay. So, we're going to ask our viewers to call in. Area code 843-248-6365 or 843-248-2890. This is posted afterwards for our video viewers, so you can't call in. So, but
Well, you can call in now, but you can't call in when it's.
Yeah, right.
When it's posted.
When it's posted.
So, yeah.
But you can call it
Call us
right
now,
now.
join the conversation.
Yeah. And your questions are critical right now. Instead of catching us on the streets, you know, when we're walking, then they come up and ask, oh, why didn't you ask your guest so-and-so? And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. You know, we say the telephone number on there, you know, 5 or 10, 15 times, like we keep doing every day. But anyway, again, welcome to the program. And I know you got a slew of information that you think is pertinent to our listening audience and our viewing audience. So if you want to, before I start with the question of before the host starts, do you want to?
I said we found out a little bit more about
Yeah,
Lee. How
yeah,
did
right.
you even, you know, decide that
Chief.
this would be a career for you? And how did you move up in the ranks to become chief?
Well, I was born in Conway,
Mhm.
and my dad was the assistant chief.
Okay.
So, and I always tell the story. I was born on a Wednesday, and on Friday we were leaving the hospital. And my dad said, "I need to show you off." So he took me by the fire station. So that was the first place I went when I was born. So when people say, "How long have you been in the fire service?" I say, "Since 1978," and they look at me funny, you know, obviously. They
At
say, "Well,
3
tell us that
days
story."
old.
Yeah, tell us that story. So I do. You know, it's kind of an icebreaker, but.
Mhm.
I mean, I grew up in the fire service. I love it. It's just something I've always wanted to do. I actually joined in '94 as a junior firefighter, and I just worked my way through the ranks from there.
Okay.
So, homegrown.
Homegrown.
So, what does it take to get those kind of skills? I mean, what kind of academic preparation?
Most of your firefighting comes from the South Carolina Fire Academy,
Right.
either through Columbia, where the actual fire academy is, or you can do it regionally or locally. We
Right.
post a lot of classes in house. I actually worked for Horry County Fire Department for 1 year, and they put me through what they call a recruit class, which is the basic 12 classes to become a firefighter. So
Right.
when you come out of class, you're ready to go. So I got all my classes up front, and then the reason I didn't go to Conway is because my dad was still employed in the nepotism laws for South Carolina, so I couldn't actually work. So as soon as he retired, I was trying to kick the door down
Okay.
for his job. So
Mhm.
he retired on his 45th birthday in 2001, and that was in March, and I started in September. So it was kind of a dream come true for me. So
Yeah,
and
so
then,
obviously there must have talked very much of your qualifications and skills because making chief.
yeah,
No,
and I've always dedicated my life to making sure that I had what I needed for the next level. When I was a lieutenant, I wanted to be a captain. When I was a captain, I wanted to be the battalion chief. Battalion chief wanted to be the fire chief. So I just always made that a priority to try to get what I needed early on in my career, so I could get to that point and enjoy it. Try to spend some time in one position instead of trying to force my way to the top, if you will. So I was promoted to fire chief in 2014, so I've been a little over 4 years now, kind of getting settled in.
I never, unless you look on the website, I never knew you. You were on board. Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's no problem. Yeah,
Uh,
but yeah, I've been fire chief since 2014.
Okay, all right. One of the topics that we had on our promotion that we sent out was that about fire alarm. I mean, yeah,
Right.
house fire,
Smoke
house alarms.
alarms,
Yeah, and again, you get questions on the street as to not from us, but just in general conversation as to, you know, like, I wonder if my fire alarm is up to date, or do I need one in every room or something like that? So
Right.
kind of give us a little scenario of what is the best case scenario.
What we try to instill in the public is you should have one in every bedroom, obviously, and then one in the common areas, like say outside in the hallway, one on each floor. The best thing, if you have any questions, is to give us a call. We'll come out, we'll check your house, we'll check your detectors. We do offer free smoke detectors, and that's a program we try to push out through social media. We actually made a post about it yesterday on our Facebook page, trying to remind people, check your smoke alarms. I can't express how important it is to have a working smoke alarm. So if you do have a fire, it can alert you, that there is danger. So you can either give us a call at 843-248-1720 and just let us know. We'll come out, and usually if you called right now, we would come today. And we want to make sure it's a priority for us. I don't want you to sleep through the night not having it once you've told us. So, and we on our website, which is www.cityofconway.com, you can go to the fire link, and there's a smoke detector request form. So, if you don't want to call in, you just go to the request forms, a couple of your name, phone number, and address, and it populates to an email. It goes to me and goes to our secretary. So And then I get my emails at home, so if it's 2 a.m., as soon as I wake up, I'll see it and we'll get somebody to you, so.
Could someone just go by the fire the municipal building where y'all are located?
The only thing about handing out the smoke detectors is we can't ensure they actually make it and get installed properly.
Okay,
So we
okay.
prefer to come, to the house and.
And you do this
Yes,
installation?
we do the installations, we make sure we put them in the right spot. If you have old detectors, we'll take those down if they're no good. They're, the shelf life, the expectancy for the detectors is only 10 years. So
Okay.
if you know for a fact your detectors are older than 10 years, you need to get them changed out.
Okay,
A lot of your newer construction, has what we call hardwired. So
Right.
let's say one goes off in the bedroom, the whole house starts talking,
Right.
it always happens at 2 a.m., but you start hearing a lot of detectors, they're all wired together. So, the problem with us is we offer the battery powered, so we don't offer those, but if you were to purchase those, we would help you install that.
So when you give out free smoke detectors, installation is also free?
Yes,
Okay.
there's no.
So it's the whole thing, all you gotta do is ask?
Yes, that's right.
All one has to do is
Right.
ask?
And, we don't advertise as much as far as a home safety visit, but there's an initiative through the state that it's a program that's becoming more popular throughout the state, where if you want us to come to your home and do like a fire safety inspection per se, and I say that's new in the past year. So that's something we're trying to get the logistics worked out, and it's a service we're going to begin to offer as well. So, if you were to have questions about, heating, like say you had like an old kerosene heater, little things like that, we can come check for you. So that's a program we're trying to put together to push out in the next couple of weeks.
So when you find things that are hazardous, do you give people ultimatums and say that
Yes, sir.
nobody penalized?
Not your
Just tell
residents,
you-
no.
not
If
your
it's a
residents.
business, yes, just because of the International Fire Code, we have to by law. But if it's your residents, we're just gonna give you some good practices and some good recommendations. And we'll help you, the best we can, do everything we can, so. But there's no, there will be no citations or fines or anything on your home. So, and the biggest thing is just start with the smoke alarms,
Yeah.
That's the quick fix to try to make sure that you're safe. And I'd say the next most popular thing that we try to push into the community is like a escape plan. And you hear a lot of the kids, hey, the fire truck came to school today. Well, what'd you talk about? It's usually one of two things: stop, drop, and roll. You probably heard that. Or you close, catch on fire, you roll around, and they talk about an escape plan.
Yeah.
So when they go back to the parents are not as educated as the children, and they're like, what are you talking about? So they have to try to explain it, and the children's version of what we're trying to tell usually doesn't line up. So we're trying to express that to the adults as well, to develop this home safety plan. Like if say the fire's in your kitchen, how do you get out? If you're in the living room, where do you go? That kind of thing. And if you all leave out of separate exits, where do you meet up? You meet up at the mailbox, the neighbor's house, driveway. And you got to think, if your house is on fire and it's 2 a.m. and you do have a working alarm that wakes you up, the smoke's gonna be thick, you're gonna be disoriented. You may think you know your house, but you just imagine waking up and covering your eyes where you can have zero visibility and trying to find your way out. And we have we used to have it looked like a mobile home trailer, and we would fill it full of smoke, and the kids would crawl out, and the smoke was safe. It was that non-toxic smoke, and that really puts in perspective when you can't see your hand in front of your face. So, we're trying to push that message to the adults as well, to make sure they have that plan and to practice it. Talk about it every 6 months or every year, and say, hey, where would you go if you woke up and there was smoke? What would you do, and where would you go? Because what's the child's first reaction? They want to go to the parents. So they're going to go out into the danger, and they're going to open the door to hallway's full of smoke, or maybe there's a fire down in the kitchen. They're going to say, I got to get my parents, and they're going to try to go towards the danger. And we're trying to train them to go through a window and get out. And if they come out, where do they go? And that's kind of that's the big thing, and we want to make sure they just don't get out and take off running. So now we've got a missing child would actually have across the street. So, but it's all about communication, and you need to make sure that these are agreed upon up front. So at 2 a.m. you're not running around trying to figure out what to do.
So it's critical that you get on the floor when the alarm.
That's right. If you wake up and you see smoke, and you got to get low because smoke rises, obviously heat rises.
Right.
So if you get low, most of the time you'll have a layer where you can see below the smoke. And you can crawl out. So that's what we teach the children. In those we go to the schools. We go to schools a lot. We do a lot of talks. We tell them to get low and crawl out. And the parents, this generation, most parents have been through this training. Back, I went through elementary school in the 80s, and I remember learning it then, but they forgot about that. So we're trying to have public education events where we train the adults as well. We want to make sure they don't forget that knowledge.
So what do you think happens when you have those situations where people could have gotten out and they didn't go on the floor?
Well, what happens is they think they can probably just run through the smoke, and then it instantly takes the smoke takes them over with carbon monoxide poisoning, and, within seconds, you can't make decisions, and your neurological is just shot, and next thing you know, you're on the floor, and you just can't do anything, and you pass out. So it happens so quick, you don't have time to react. So that's why we have these talks. We say just get low as soon as possible to the fresh air, if anything, to help you get out of the house.
Does that tend to happen more often than people succumbing to the actual fire when it comes to fire deaths?
In most fire deaths, they're deceased before the flames get to them. It's either way, it's a tragic situation. But we have through the coroner's reports and whatnot, we do see that they have inhaled the smoke, and they were deceased before the fire got to them.
So how large is your coverage area? Because you're Conway Fire Department.
We're the city of Conway. We partner with Horry County Fire Rescue to cover just a small portion outside the city. Is what we call a contract. So a good example I always give is, you familiar with Culture Road?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Culture Road, there's only 2 or 3 buildings in the city limits on Culture Road. That's the church, Church of God, and on the other end, near Shakora, there's like one house down there. That whole stretch of roads in the county, but we cover it just like the city, just through that contract because we're closer.
Okay.
I saw there's a fire department, there's a firehouse right at the fire station. Right on Culture Road where the train track is.
Yes, we have 3 stations in the city. We have our main station on 9th Avenue, Country Club Drive, and then behind Lowe's on Highway 501. So out towards Coastal Carolina, that area. So we cover just a little bit outside the city. Years ago, we used to call it a 5-mile ring. Basically, like somebody drew a circle around the city 5 miles, and we covered that. But Horry County's built up their response area, so it's pushed us back in. We do assist Horry County through mutual aid, auto aid. And when I say auto aid, it's just a terminology, but we do assist them on a regular basis, and they assist us.
Okay. So residents who are, let's say, south of the Food Line Plaza on 701 South,
Right.
are they protected under Horry County Fire?
We go. Are you familiar with Sedgefield subdivision?
Yes.
That's in the
As far as
city.
Sedgefield.
Yes, yeah. We
Okay.
cover that. Pecan Grove, that's in the city. Now,
Mhm.
that, on 701 across the street, there's 2 large houses.
Mhm.
Those are covered by Horry County. So that's an area where it's kind of hit or miss. If it's in the city, we cover. If it's not, the county. And that's just jurisdiction. Now, we'll still go. We'll still, it doesn't matter. We're going to go just like it's our fire. So it's just through that contract we have.
And how far north do you cover?
We go right at where it goes into 2 lanes.
Okay.
Yeah, that intersection of Highway 390.
Right there, yeah. I think there's an auto dealership,
Yes.
something right there.
Right,
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
So that's that way. Highway 905, we go just past Langston Church,
Mm-hmm.
and then it becomes Horry County.
And that's important for people to
It is,
know,
it is.
especially when you're trying to contact a fire department to let them know that there's something going on. So, of course, if you're unsure, where can people go to get that information as far as the jurisdictions for the?
I think the easiest thing is just to contact us.
Contact you guys,
Yeah,
okay.
And we're glad to, our knowledge is power. We want to make sure that
Mhm.
everybody has the right information.
Yeah.
And it's like I tell my staff, if you have a question, ask the question, but ask the right people.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. We've learned just internally, if people start guessing, it kind of spirals out of control. So, I just want to make sure everybody has the right information to make sure everybody's safe. As far as the smoke alarms too, if someone was to call from somewhere way outside the city, we've got direct communications with Horry County, and they'll have the information instantly. So, there's not a delay. I want to make sure everybody's taken care of. So.
You're listening to the Whittemore Community Magazine's Our Power right here on WPJS 1330 AM on your dial, or you may catch us on WCMagazine.net, or you can catch us on www.wpjsradio.com. I'm telling you, we're covering all the bases.
We're covering all the bases.
We're trying. We're trying our best to cover all the bases.
Don't let them up.
And if you want to join the conversation, give us a call at 843-248-2890 or 843-248-6365.
That's very good
Excellent
question.
And the question for viewers is whether or not there is anything for the hearing impaired on the smoke alarms.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there is, and
Smoke detectors. Mhm.
yes, and there is, what it does is called a bed shaker. It actually shakes the bed to wake them up, and it has a visual alarm as well. It flashes a strobe. So there's two different kinds. But if someone has a need, they can give us a call. We can put them in contact with the right agency to get that. Phone call at 843-248-1720. That's the main fire station line, and we can make sure they get the right information.
All right, thank you, caller. Great question.
Yeah, really, that's a good question. Well, that wasn't part of one of the topic lines, but,
That's
that's a
very
good
good
question. Thank you for calling in. Thank you.
We're what we call a combination department. So we have mostly career that work, the shift work, and we have some volunteers. Years ago, and even when I first started, the department was mostly volunteer and just a couple of careers. So we've made that shift over. Most of it's covered by career staff now, and the volunteers have really come down. They're just, if they're available, they come out when we have a major call, like a house fire or a bad wreck or something like that. They have to stay up to date on their training. They have to do certification training every year to make sure that they can perform the task, medical physicals to make sure they're medically fit. So they do just about everything we do, but they come from home basically. So. And we're always taking volunteer applications. So if anybody has an aspiration to be in the fire service and they don't want to work as a career, that's the avenue.
Is there any compensation involved
There-
at all?
It's not paid per se, but what we do is we have a stipend for fuel.
Okay.
So that's what we call it. So
Is it stipend per incident or stipend per
it's per incident, yes.
incident?
And when I say incident, that's not every single call we go to. It's just the major calls, like a house fire or a wreck, like a really bad wreck, that kind of
Right.
thing. So, and those calls are kind of few and far between, which that's a good thing.
Were you all very busy during when the last hurricane that we had? And what role did you all play?
I served as the city's emergency manager, which means that's like my dual role. So when we have those emergencies, I'm the point of contact for the whole entire city. So my role drastically shifts during that event. So I was very busy. Fortunately, the call volume for the fire side was pretty low. I mean, we had the flash flooding from the actual hurricane, and we had some people that needed assisted evacuations.
Right.
We don't want to call them rescues because basically we just helped them get out. And then when that water went down, obviously the main water came up, which lasted about 20 days, and the same thing. We just want to make sure they were taken care of. Just a few calls for service. Our biggest problem was the city was just cut in three pieces. We couldn't get across the Walkmall River because of traffic. We couldn't get to our fire station 2 out in our country club.
Right.
So we actually had three pieces of the city. So we had Myrtle Beach, North Myrtle Beach, and some other agencies send us help to kind of upstaff those areas. So there wasn't going to be a delay if we had a fire. And luckily we made it through the whole entire event with a very low call volume. So which is very good for us. It was very taxing, not being able to get. You take it for granted. Like if I want to go to the post office right now, I can get there in 5 minutes. And during the flood, you're talking an hour or more because you just had to go so far out of the way or traffic, and it's just you take those things for granted. So
Yeah, that's for sure a flood zone across 701
Right. Yeah.
post office.
yeah, it dedefinitely cuts us off from the rest of the world.
Yeah. Are you all part of remedying that in terms of the planning stages of how you can prevent that? Are they constructing? They think about any kind of barriers or anything, or
There's
resealing?
a lot of ideas on the table,
Right.
and I'm not sure exactly what the name of the organization is, but our mayor actually serves in that on that committee. So she's got she's got her finger on the pulse, and she wants to make sure our citizens are taken care of. So
Okay.
that's a statewide commission as well. So there are a lot of conversations between the state and county and local governments trying to make sure we're all on the same page to move forward. We just don't want it to, we don't want the progress to stop. We want to make sure that
you don't want to do that.
you got to think if they decide to, let's say they want to redo a bridge, it's not going to be an easy fix. You're talking several years. So every minute we lose is just a minute it's going to take to build it. So we want to make sure we're staying on top of those. it's one of those kind of hidden gems is what I call it. You know, we've got a lot of knowledge and, you know, which that's why we try to do these public events. You know, they always place police and fire and public safety, but the problem is the police is always, they come when you need them, and the fire's just kind of there. You know, it's kind of two different things, or, you know, sometimes the police is viewed as more of a negative than a positive, and the fire's always just kind of in the corner. You know, we're here. So we try to get out there and put our message out, you know, ahead of the time. So, you know, we're always in schools, we're always inviting people to come by. You know, we have to pull our fire trucks out on the front pad every day and check them off. And we have, you know, families pull up, can I see the fire truck? You know, because kids love fire trucks.
Mhm.
So, but we take that as an opportunity to make sure that it's not just, hey, let's open a bunch of doors and show them the truck. We try to instill some sort of educational element as well.
Yeah, I bet there's a lot of stuff on there.
It is. And it's all about your age group as well. You got a 4-year-old, turn the lights on, they're fine. But you get up in, you know, 7, 8, 9 years old, we can really start talking about the job, or why does this valve do that, and they retain the knowledge.
Yeah.
And sometimes we've hooked some future firefighters out of that. So
I think that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
we try to,
That's-
and one thing that, you know, we're trying, and this is just in the past couple of years, is let's say we had like a trash fire, you know, and we were in the community. If the children are around, we bring them over and intentionally try to show them the fire truck. That's an opportunity for us to get the message out there. So.
Right. The hearing impaired, and what they can, if they can seek to get any kind of smoke detectors.
Right.
You know, maybe they'll, you gotta call them, okay, maybe, they can find a method to get the information out to them,
Yeah.
to
Right.
say whether it's free or not, or we can direct them to
Right.
some place like that.
And we can get some information from the
Yeah.
department and share it with the
And that's-
churches
and
and
Yeah,
get that
yeah,
information.
right.
It's hearing and visual, you know, there's both sides.
That's good, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's true. All right, like we got a call. Call, you on the air?
Thank you so much. And so to our future viewers, the question basically was recalling the fires in Paradise, California, and the caller wants to know whether or not our local fire departments study those types of incidents to prepare their firefighters for things like that.
And we do. We make sure that, you know, any change in, we call it the fire service, you know, that's nationwide and globally. If there's any changes, we want to make sure they're on top of those changes. And, you know, we do have some, you know, wildland fires here, but nothing to that magnitude. So we do study what they're doing. Believe it or not, a lot of our command structure, like if we have a fire, we have what we call an incident commander, that kind of thing. That actually came out of the wildfire side. That came from California. So, you know, we're constantly leaning off of others and making sure we're getting the information. One thing that the city of Conway has changed in the past year is we now have the authority, if we don't feel that the weather conditions are favorable, we can establish our own burn ban. In the past, we followed the state of South Carolina's red flag rules, which means it's a statewide effort. So let's say that it's dry in Greenville, but it's wet here, they'll do a burn ban. That doesn't affect us. On the flip side, it could be dry here and wet in Greenville, you know, so it's all about the local area. So we established it where we can actually do a ban on burning ourselves. And we've actually done that a few times since, especially during the hurricane. You know, we didn't want people to be burning their debris after the fact during the cleanup phases and things like that. So, and part of that is from the lessons learned from those fires.
So how much saturation does there need to be on the ground in order to establish that it's okay to burn?
Honestly, I mean, the ground can be soaking wet, but you pull the right mixture of leaves on top and set them on fire, then you've got a problem, just because they can blow away, or, you know, they can catch the house on fire. We strongly encourage in the city to not burn. You know, you have curbside pickup, you're paying for it, whether you use it or not, so, you know, through the solid waste fee, so we wanna make sure everybody knows that, so.
Okay.
I used to love to hit, smell leaves burning.
Definitely, it's definitely a
Then
good
it
smell.
stopped. Right?
It is.
Part of that Saturday yard
Ah,
cleanup.
Yeah.
man, boy, that,
Cut the
there was something
grass,
about it.
burn the
I don't
leaves,
know
I know,
what it was, but
right? Yeah.
it wasn't dangerous then. But yeah, we won't talk about that. You're listening to the Whittemore Community Magazine Hour of Power right here on WBGS 1330 AM on your dial, where we're talking with the man with all the critical information that you need to know about fire hazard, or I'm gonna get to that one too. Smoke detectors. As you noticed in the promotion, we had the topic of, we asked the question, do you have adequate number of smoke detectors in your house? So that's one of the topics today. So
I just want to make mention that one of our Facebook viewers basically wanted to give you all a compliment as far as the work that you're doing. And this person says, they look after and we'll check on our seniors. I hope that point is made to the community. So
Thank you.
shouts out to
Appreciate
you. That's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fantastic. Of course, kudos to you, Chief.
Thank
So the chief wants to talk about some items.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that, you mentioned it earlier about our response times.
Right,
And that's,
right.
and honestly, that's always a question we get. And, just a quick story. I was traveling to Myrtle Beach about 2 Christmases ago with my family, and, we witnessed an accident. Car got T-boned, flipped 3 times, people were trapped, it was really bad. And, so I had to take my radio, call it in, and I had to wait. So being on that side of the fence, I see it, it felt like it took 30 minutes.
You had to wait.
I had to wait for the help to come. I had to wait
oh.
for the ambulance, the fire truck. So, I was on that side of it. So it felt like 30 minutes. And, to the point where I actually called the next day and checked, and it was only 5. So, it seemed like 30 minutes. So that's why, the first thing they say is, what took so long? What took so long?
Yeah.
And it's a lot of times it's just the mental side of it. You're
Excited.
anxious, you're
Yeah,
excited. So I pulled some numbers, and I did the full calendar year of 2018, and it pulls all of our incidents and does an average. So our average response time for any incident in the city was 5 minutes and 21 seconds, and that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Now so we're transparent, this does factor out non-emergent. So let's say you do call for a smoke alarm. We track that through our incident reports, but that's factored out of this. This is just emergency incidents. So, we wouldn't run lights and siren to your smoke detector.
Right.
So that pulls those out, but this is actually any fire or any incident we responded to as an emergent. So that's 5 minutes and 21 seconds, which is right there at the average, the national average. That's what's expected of us. So that's really good. We ran 3,491 calls in 2018, and that's out of 3 stations with 30 people. So you do the math on that. That's a lot. And, it's the station here. One of the complaints I get a lot is those fire trucks should make a lot of noise, and I'm like, well, you're not just hearing fire trucks, you're hearing ambulances and police
Right.
cars and all that. However, we do run a lot of emergencies. We average 8 to 10 out of the station on 9th Avenue, just that station a day.
A day.
So, and that's a
That's
lot.
kind of busy for a place like Conway, right? I
Yeah,
mean, it's the size of Conway.
Right. And other stations are hit or miss. They may run 1 or 2, they may run 10 or 12. It just depends on, the day, I guess. I did some numbers back as far as 2014. 2014 we ran 3,161 calls, and now we're at 3,491. So you can just see the graph go up, and every year it just gets busier and busier. So it's just, and that's nationwide.
Yeah.
It's not changing. We do run emergency medical calls. So let's say that someone has chest pains and they think they're having a heart attack. They'll call us out as what we call a first responder. We're trained to that level. We provide care until the ambulance gets there. And that's always a question too. Well, I'm having a heart attack, I don't need a fire truck. So we try to educate the community that, hey, we're just here to help. We're trying to mend that gap, because sometimes the ambulances have to come from a great distance.
But you have paramedics on the truck.
We have what we call first responder. So we're trained to the basic level in Conway.
So not EMT, not.
We have some EMTs,
You have some
but
EMTs?
the level we are is actually a national, it's actually a national certification as well.
Awesome.
It's through the same as EMT, it's just one step down.
Okay.
The only difference is we can't do the intubation,
Right.
so that's the only difference for us. So we're actually pretty much trained to the same level.
Okay.
Horry County Fire Rescue handles the ambulances, so that's a different organization. We work and partner with them. They provide our training for medical, we provide service to their calls. So it's a good partnership for us. We do not charge for any type of medical services. But I think the staggering number is that we ran, let's see, 1,800 calls, medical calls, just medical related calls in 2018, out of 3,400. It's got on my graph that it was 2,126, but that adds vehicle accidents and those as well. So that's a pretty good chunk. That's over 50%.
That is a big chunk, because if you're taking care of medical calls and a true fire call comes, you guys are kind of
Right, and-
overextended a little bit.
Right, and that happens sometimes, but not as often as you probably would think.
Okay.
The big statistic I wanted to throw out, and this really just floors people when I say this, is in 2018, out of 3,491 incidents, only 14 were house fires, and that's low. That's like 0.03% of our calls. I think is what the math showed. So And people think that it's a lot higher, but I mean, we're average about one a month. You know, and I'm not say a house fire, I'm talking about like actual, you know, flames kind of thing. We run a lot of possibles, like hey, my house is on fire, and we get there, it's the heater strips where they turn the heat on, and they smell that smell. Or they were cooking and it got away from them just a little bit, but these are actual true fires. So 14 is pretty low. I mean, that's a lot lower than most people think. So I just always want to throw that out there that, you know, everybody thinks firemen go to all these house fires. That's a very low number of what we do. Public education is number one. And then the medical calls obviously take up a lot of our time. We do a lot of training. Last year, I ran the numbers for a different event, but I just remember the number. It was pretty staggering. Our guys and gals, because we have 2 female firefighters as well, we have I think it was 14,500 hours of training in a year, which is a lot. They stay busy. They want to make sure they're on top of their game. So we do have incidents that are bringing, you know, top notch.
And you're always running drills and
Right.
training, because you just never know what type of situations. Now, do you guys, do you all deal with hazmat type situations?
We have what we call hazmat technicians, so they can actually go into the danger zone and all that. We don't have the equipment. We rely on Horry County Fire Rescue in Myrtle Beach. That number, and I can find it in this list, that number is extremely low as far as those incidents. Actually had one chemical spill leak, one. So I mean, the number is so low. We had a team. We had a hazmat team. We had the equipment, the trailer, the whole bit. But a lot of it has a shelf life, so we're spending all this money to put these suits and this fancy equipment to never use it. So we felt like we were just, for lack of better terms, wasting the city's money. So we got out of that business and said, we'll keep our training. We'll rely on somebody else to bring the equipment, and it works.
All right. Well, of course, I have to plug Horry Georgetown Tech. We actually, he mentioned 2 career paths that are quite possible, and I'm sure it would help with recruiting as well.
Yeah.
But we do have an EMT program where you can earn an associate in applied science. If you ever want to get into this field, working with the fire department, or just becoming an EMT in general and working with ambulatory services. And then we have a fire science program that's a certificate program, so you can learn more about, what this is all
a lot of
about.
programs over there. I see a feature on
I don't
TV.
know.
I don't know.
There's so much to learn. Yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of this stuff is not expensive, you know?
Not at all.
Okay, and I don't know what the holdup is in terms of people not gravitating towards it. It's, I'm blown away sometimes. But anyway, I want to ask this question about the control of traffic lights. Do you all have jurisdiction over that, especially upon an emergency, or you're going to a fight or something? Do you have control over traffic light to keep it running, keep it on the green if?
The only traffic light we have control over is 9th and 501. And it's a 30-second window. We press a button when we leave the station. It gives us enough time to come around. The lights turn red and lets us cross. That's the only intersection we have control of. There are some programs in the works where I think Myrtle Beach is looking into it, some of Horry County Fire Rescue, where they have a system where it's basically an antenna, radios to the next traffic light they're coming, and it clears traffic for them. But we're not on that list. It's just the need's not there.
Oh, but the need is not there.
I mean, the frequency, you gotta think, like right now, yeah, but 2 o'clock in the morning, no. So, but Myrtle Beach seems like it's always gone up. So. Another point, we made a video, and it was intended to be funny, but it's just that a lot of people saw it. It was shared thousands and thousands of times, and it was viewed, I don't know, 100-something thousand times. It was called Pull to the Right. Emergency vehicles coming, people don't know what to do. I encourage you to go to our Facebook page, and you can find it. It's on the fire department page, it's on the city's page, and it's funny, but it's intended to express pull to the right for emergency vehicles. Because a lot of people panic. They look up, and the fire truck or the ambulance or police car is right behind them. They don't know what to do, so they go left, and that just causes problems for us. So you're training your driver's manual to pull to the right. So that's like our message. Is to basically get out of the way.
Yeah. Okay. You ever get, what do I call it, ridiculous 911 calls?
You were in my head. I was going to ask about the stereotypical movie cat in the tree type of deal.
We do.
Get calls like that?
Not as many as you would think, but we do. And honestly, we use Horry County 911 Center. They offer our services, so they take the calls, and sometimes they diffuse those calls before they even dispatch them. But sometimes they're adamant, send the fire truck. Okay, so we get out there, and And this is a bizarre incident, but it's real life, and it was challenging. Recently, we had an 8-year-old get stuck in a washing machine, and
Whoa.
still today don't know why he was in the washing machine, but he was, when I say stuck, and we had to use specialized tools that took us an hour and 20 minutes to cut him out.
Oh, my
And it was a
goodness.
very complex incident, but I mean, you know, that's that when you say bizarre calls, that's the first one I think of.
An
And it-
8-year-old,
yeah.
8?
And
Oh.
it took precision to cut, because you got to think, if you're cutting, you don't want to cut him.
Right.
And he was wedged in there, so it was a very challenging call. And it goes back to training. You know, we've watched videos on YouTube on special things.
Right.
And,
Was that top loading? A top loading?
You, brother,
all that. But, it's just
get him, PJ.
Hey, let me-
we've had a lot of cats and trees
That's not
calls.
valid. It was a washing
And
Top loading.
he was uninjured, so that was
That's
what-
good.
yeah, that was the reason why I was asking that, because I mean, it probably doesn't matter, because he was a victim there, but,
Back boogie him.
you know, I'm still trying to envision like an 8-year-old, you know, you're talking
Well,
maybe
eights are
like that,
you
right?
know, yeah,
Something like that. And
depending
then-
on the size of the kid, you know, it kind
Right.
of like this, you know.
Yeah, so, but,
Kids, they love playing around with stuff.
yeah, and I guess but you all have pamphlets for things like that. For example, keeping old refrigerators doors off, and do people get fined for that?
That was more of an initiative back in probably the 90s, 80s, 90s. So we don't push that as much anymore. The newer stuff is not as much of a challenge like it used to be. So,
Right.
when you say pamphlets, that's a good point as well. We used to offer a recruitment pamphlet, and it's actually on my computer to be revisited. It has been for about 3 years. So that's something that we're going to try to push out and get some information out for people that want, you know, a job as a firefighter. We just posted for a job, and out of 42 applications, over 30 were from out of state. And, you know, that's fine, I guess, but we got a lot of people in college I feel like would make good firefighters out of it. I don't know if they just don't know, or they're afraid to make that leap. I mean, there's some good
Yeah,
talent.
that conversation has to happen at the secondary level. So it
Right,
needs
right.
to happen in high schools.
Right.
And there definitely needs to be
And
more
we're-
of a connector there.
And we're constantly in the job fairs.
Mhm.
I know we go to Whittemore Park every year out, because I've gone a couple of times and I really enjoy it, because that's an age where you can really target these children.
Right.
Speaking of which, we have some job fairs coming up. You guys need to be a part of.
Just make sure you give us a call.
I
That's-
sure will.
We actually have a gentleman, that's all he does is coordinate.
Okay.
So,
All right.
if you know, it doesn't matter if it's kindergarten to college, I mean, we'll come, so.
Okay.
So how many people do you have on staff of the Conway Fire Department?
There's
Do you know
30,
that number?
there's 35 total,
35
that
total.
includes me. 5 of us are administrative, so there's 10 per shift, and there's 3 shifts, so there's 10
Okay.
firefighters. So there's one supervisor, he's in what we call a detached vehicle, so he has like a smaller pickup truck where he can
Right.
rope around. And then there's 3 fire stations,
Right.
and each fire station has 1 fire truck with 3 people. So it's 3, 3, and 3, and 1 is 10. So, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
That's we actually increased our staffing last year, so we're getting to where we need to be.
So what, speaking of career as a fireman, I say fire person, because you got fire women.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, what are some of the starting salaries
For Conway, it's around 33,000.
33,000?
Yes. For just that's basic. All you have to have is a driver's license that's valid and a diploma or GED. That's all you have to have, and that's confusing. We used to advertise that you had to get all these classes within the first year and all that, but that became way too confusing. And we actually did a survey and realized a lot of people were not applying because they didn't qualify. I'm like, well, do you have a driver's license? Yeah. Do you have a GED or a high school diploma? Yeah. Well, you qualify. You know, to apply. Now, and we're going to go through the process and we're going to pick who we think is the most suitable candidate. But just to apply and get the experience to come in the door, that's all you have to have. So, because we'll send them through the training and get them certified. So,
So do you have a lot of washout, in attrition?
we do really well as far as turnover. We went out 14 months without anybody leaving, so I think that's pretty good for municipal government, just traditionally. So. We're doing big things. We want to make sure that we're taking care of our employees. The city takes care of their employees, hands down. So a lot of people are coming and they're staying. We're a family. The fire service has always been family oriented, and that's our big push. Is we want to make sure we want them to feel like they're part of a family.
So, you all come under the same city retirement system and stuff like that, compensation?
We're under the police officers retirement system, so it's a police and fire in the same retirement. You can, 28 years you can retire.
Okay.
And as compared to, state government, it's 30. Might even be higher than that now, I think.
Good job.
We wanna make sure we remain transparent as possible too, you know, if people have questions, and I'm glad that you invited us, cause I want our message out there, I want people to know what we do. Cause, you know, a lot of people don't, and they don't know the services we offer, and all of our services are free, so.
Yeah, and we've had a number of public officials on our program.
Right.
In the past. This is the first time we've had, the Conway Fire Department. So, we certainly want to thank you for coming on.
Appreciate you having me.
And, yeah, we gotta get you back on again.
Yeah. I'd be glad to.
I have one more question for
Okay.
Chief. What do the people in more rural areas need to know as far as who to contact and even response times and things like that? Because I know you said there's
Right.
Conway and there's Horry County, and you know, my mind just went to the rural areas.
Yes, you know, or anything outside of Conway or Myrtle Beach, the municipalities, anything that's called unincorporated, that's covered by Horry County Fire Rescue. I would just encourage them to call their administration, which is 843-915-5190, and they can answer any questions.
Okay.
I think that's the easiest thing, because I mean, I don't want to misquote or
Mhm.
anything, so.
All right.
So, do you have any final remarks you want to convey to our audience, our
Or
listening audience?
what the community can do to help you out. Yeah.
Well, it's fire safety, you know, make sure that you're doing your part as well. And I mentioned that, you know, the children get this knowledge and they come home and the parents are kind of, whoa. So we wanna make sure that the parents are involved as well. So if they see a fire truck in the community, approach them. I mean, we try to be as approachable as possible and ask questions, ask for a tour, come by the station, you know, all that stuff. Our guys and gals love that, and they really do. You know, especially out in the community, you know, we encourage them to push that message when they see the children, so. And it doesn't have to be children, if an adult has a question, call us and ask.
Right, sometimes I envision people, doing things like, if the response time is a long time.
Right.
You know, they'll come back and say, I got my
Well,
lawyer on hand,
now-
you should have been here.
Right, now, we have been questioned about our response times, and most of the time, I just call dispatch and pull the tapes, you know, the 911 calls, and.
Right.
And it's all information they can receive, so.
Yeah.
And there have been some hiccups along the way, you know, we get the wrong information, they go to the wrong street, that kind of thing, but, you know, we do the best we can, and it's all, we go by the information we're given by the communication center, and they're getting it off of a phone with somebody screaming, you know, that's a tough job. You think our job's tough, the 911 operators are the ones that are always forgotten about, you know. We have these major fires where people are passing away, or we have these bad wrecks, they're the ones that are taking those calls and hearing the screaming in the background and come save my family, and that they get forgotten about, and we try to, I know my agency tries to take care of them, you know, we go visit, they're basically in a room like this with no windows, I mean, it's like a dungeon, so they're just kind of the saving grace that's always forgotten about, so we try to take care of those guys and gals.
Shouts out to the dispatchers.
That's right.
Yeah.
I was a dispatcher for a year, so I kind of have to plug them in.
Yeah.
Again, yeah, certainly appreciate you coming on.
I appreciate
the program
it.
today.
That's some
and,
awesome
We're
information.
glad to
Yeah,
come back
yeah,
in.
this kind of information, and just, see, we should be selling this kind of information.
It's available on our website, and we push that, and we're making changes constantly on the website, and our social media is really powerful. It's a powerful tool. And one more quick plug, and I'll stop. But I spoke yesterday at the state's municipal association. I was talking about crisis communication,
Right.
and I spoke to all the elected officials in the state. And one of the messages I pushed was during the flood, you know, our Facebook page for the city reached 1.4 billion people. That's a lot.
It's a lot.
You know,
Yeah, that's
in
a lot.
21 days. So
Yeah.
you know, social media has become the platform, and it's very powerful. So we try to use that as a tool.
Right.
So we're
right.
constantly trying to push things out. You know, in the police department, they got a new initiative about, you know, check your car at 9 p.m. You know, it's every night.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, I've gone and checked my car and it was unlocked, so it works.
That's
you
right.
know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, wow.
This has been awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
And, so, to our callers, or would-be callers, time is about up. We got about 90 seconds. I mean,
If that-
we don't want
if
to call
that
you.
many.
We don't think it's
Look,
appropriate to
look,
call.
PJ's giving us the eye.
Yeah, you can't call right now. Well, we certainly appreciate, we know you're listening, we know you're listening, so,
Post it to the web, post
yeah,
it to social
check
media.
out the website, this evening.
Yeah.
Or, tomorrow, within 48 hours,
Yeah,
so the host
yeah.
says.
Work it out.
Yeah, so you work it out.
I'm gonna work it out, exactly. This is good stuff.
And check it out, and,
And we just want to thank Chief Philip Lee Hendricks Jr.
Junior, no, it's Lee.
Oh,
This is Lee.
excuse
Okay.
me, Lee of the Conway Fire Department. Yes, for being with us today.
And, yeah,
I
right,
really appreciate you having me.
yeah, and spitting out all that kind of information, man, I tell you.
Like you
I've
said,
got plenty
knowledge is
more,
power.
so just let me
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Oh, he needs to be a guest columnist.
Yeah.
Can we get a write-up for the magazine?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's
Do
exactly.
everything you wanna do.
Yeah, you know, Adam gave us something for the city. We
Yeah.
need something from the fire department.
Yeah, make that happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that.
Mhm.
Man, it's all good.
It's good stuff.
So good, to our listeners, thank you so much for listening today, and, we'll see you next week, same time, 4 p.m., from 4 to 5 p.m., right here, with Whittemore Community Magazine Hour of Power.